go, we everywhere, you never there. And it's because I was already in the arenas. So what would I be doing back in the nightclub?
Yeah.
At that point.
I like to tell the people home, I feel so safe tonight with all this police protection courtesy of G Unit. Fat Joe is man. Pussy boy.
PacScent just broke his silence about how Fat Joe tried to have him killed after Terrence Todd Dicken filed a complaint alleging that he saw the rapper groom, isolate, and exploit minors while working for his company. Now Joe is being pulled into a Rico lawsuit that supports that. And this isn't just about a rap feud anymore. We're talking about a murderous scheme, unsettling claims that Joe is a PDF file, accusations that he operated his crew like a criminal organization, and the most outrageous part is that the person revealing everything is Joe's hype man, who has been with Joe for more than 10 years. How does 50 Cent fit into all of this? Well, as you are all aware, 50 and Joe had a serious feud in the past. And according to this lawsuit, Joe attempted to off him several times. Fit's security was too tightly secured, which is the only reason it didn't go through. Now, things get even more complicated because, although 50 finally addressed the allegations, his version of events differs slightly from the lawsuits. Basically, 50 says it was never that serious, but the fans are trying to understand why he would minimize an attempt on his life unless there is more to the story. So let's take a closer look at what this Rico lawsuit against Fat Joe says, how 50 responded, how it relates to the old G Unit versus Terror Squad war, and why people believe this may be much more serious than just Fat Joe being sued. Once you see the names, the timeline, and the accusations, it gets really crazy. In fact, some people are saying that these accusations are worse than what Diddy has been accused of.
What happened, Daddy?
It's Fat Joe's record. I listened to it. It hurt me. I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't care about the money.
According to this recent complaint by Terrence D.A. Dixon, a former hype man of Fat Joe. Joe wanted 50 killed, not just silenced. According to Dixon, Joe released a song during the height of his feud with 50, and it was intended to seem like a heist. According to the lawsuit, defendant Cartagena was living in Miami during the winter of 2006-2007 when he received a call informing him that 50 Cent, a rapper that goes by the stage name 50 Cent, was at a venue in New York. Cartagena ordered a hit, but 50 Cent was surrounded by Navy SEALs type security, and the would-be killers were scared to try. According to the lawsuit, Fat Joe told people to put a bag on 50's head and was upset that he couldn't get it done quickly enough. He also reportedly told his associates that he was trying to get 50 for a minute. The lawsuit also claims that when discussing the failure of the plot, the defendant was visibly upset and shaking, indicating not only intent and active planning, but also direct coordination with those working on his behalf. Many people were expecting a full-blown meltdown when this lawsuit made headlines and 50 eventually answered. But instead, he issued a message presumably backing Joe and labeling the lawsuit from Dixon a stick-up. This was because they had been trying to ambush him at various public settings. The caption read, "These baseless accusations and claims are not credible. I have to endure the public scrutiny and damage to his reputation. This is a stick-up." Wrote this hook. "I should have kept this one." 50 posted a picture of himself and Joe to the song Young Buck's Prices on My Head. Another person added, "Fifth is playing chess." If he goes this route, Joe will be loyal because he knows it's true. People are perplexed by 50's response and claim they can't tell if 50 is being petty or sincere. Sincerely, naturally, anything can be said in a lawsuit. But this person has access to information claiming that Joe managed his entire business like a mob boss, and that the hit on 50 wasn't the only shady deal that was done behind the cities. And we know we love to see the cities as we love to see. Like, look at this. And we all know I've been exploring that. But this person has access to information. But, carry us, while we love to see with carry daces as we love. At Dalo, case 2. Case 6. Flow with cis gay types, case 8. It was cannot with sick. Canodi with can cato we love psych and we side a can need to see we with you see we you lie to can you we. Scenes, let's examine what else TA is accusing Joe of because, shockingly, the claim isn't even the worst part, which is where it gets really unsettling. According to Dixon, Fat Joe had a 15-year-old girl. The 157-page complaint filed in federal court in New York contains so many graphic allegations about Fat Joe's involvement with young women that it begins with a trigger warning. Dixon claims in the lawsuit that Fat Joe forced him into humiliating situations such as at the X-Ax by putting him under duress and surveillance and threatening to abandon him abroad if he didn't comply. According to Dixon, he was forced into more than 4,000 acts to keep his job. The lawsuit's most unsettling section is undoubtedly when Dixon explains how Fat Joe allegedly had sex with female victims who were not legal adults at the time. Dixon also says he personally saw Fat Joe have sex with victims who were 15 and 16. Afterward, he lists 3 victims of Jane Doe, one of whom was a 16-year-old Dominican from New York, who, in exchange for money for clothes and her cell phone bill, would perform certain acts on Fat Joe. The second alleged victim is described as a Caucasian woman who is not a citizen of the United States, was 15. And he claims that it happened following a concert abroad and that Fat Joe allegedly took the girl to New York City and Miami, Florida, several times. However, what's really disgusting is that because Jane Doe's body wasn't fully developed, Fat Joe paid for her to get a BBL, according to the complaint. She is a Latina woman who met Fat Joe when she was 15 years old. She is turning 16 years old, and according to Dixon, Fat Joe was in love with Jane Doe 3 and even considered divorcing his wife. Fat Joe allegedly paid all of Jane Doe's expenses, took her on his tour stops abroad, and even brought her to Florida. According to Dixon, who claims that Fat Joe was in his late 30s at the time, he would rent her a condo a few blocks from his house with his wife. He also included several pictures of Jane Doe with her high school pals, which he says were taken while Fat Joe was relocating Jane Doe across state lines. Does it imply that Fat Joe is the target of a Rico case? Well, the truth is that this is currently a civil Rico action. Under the RICO Act, legislation that was initially designed to target organized crime and the mafia, civil RICO is a means for private citizens to sue someone. In order to prevail in a civil RICO action, the plaintiff must demonstrate that there existed an enterprise, such as a group or organization, rather than just a single person. And this is what Todd Dixon is saying. He is saying that Fat Joe operated a criminal business with his co-conspirators. He even named 2 of these alleged co-conspirators, Richard "Rich" Blair Geifer and Pete Pistol, as important associates in Fat Joe's illegal business. Prevail in this lawsuit, Dixon must also demonstrate that the business engaged in a pattern of racketeering behavior, which entails at least 2 illegal acts such as fraud, extortion, illegal substance trafficking, or witness intimidation. Demonstrate that those actions were not isolated incidents, but rather occurred over time. In other words, RICO makes everything seem more serious because it implies a system of organized crime rather than isolated wrongdoing. For this reason, even in civil cases, the word RICO carries weight and draws attention from the federal government because, let's face it, it's not like RICO charges are new in hip-hop right now. From YSL to Casanova and, of course, Diddy, the feds are obviously keeping an eye on things. The big question now is, why did T.A. Dixon remain silent for so long? Is 50 Cent correct to call this a stick-up? And what finally caused him to change his mind? According to Tay Dixon, he remained silent out of fear for his life as well as his career, claiming that he was threatened when he attempted to leave and that Joe kept him close because he knew too much. Most people outside the industry are unaware of his name, but for 16 years, Ski was Fat Joe's hype man. standing next to him on tour after tour. Now, however, Dixon, as many people are now wondering if it is about justice or retaliation, because, according to Tay Dixon, the fallout between him and Fat Joe wasn't one incident. Rather, it was years of being underpaid and allegedly pushed out once he stopped cooperating. To make matters worse, Dixon even named ROC Nation in his lawsuit, claiming that they assisted Fat Joe in running his criminal empire. In fact, he described Roc Nation as a strategic facilitator and area of racketeering activity, claiming that Roc Nation was aware of or willfully blind to Fat Joe's illegal actions, of which Dixon stated he was a victim, included forced labor, financial fraud, retaliatory violence, and human trafficking. However, the timing is what is causing concern. Because federal eyes are currently on the hip-hop scene, people are wondering if T.A. Dixon is trying to sneak his case in and get a payout because Joe's career has been relatively quiet and all the real heat has been directed at other rap moguls. Or if he is telling the truth, this is just the first domino. So now we have a 157-page Rico lawsuit full of disturbing allegations, including PDF file activity. But in the middle of all that, 50 Cent is dismissing it and essentially claiming that Fat Joe is being set up. But why is he so certain that Fat Joe is innocent when we know how hard 50 Cent went against him and even dragged Jay-Z into it? After all, 50 has been calling out Jay-Z ever since the first lawsuit against him was dropped just weeks ago. 50 trolled Jay once more and implied that he was involved in Dottie blowing up Kid Cudi's car, and now that Fat Joe is being sued, his accuser has even named Jay-Z's ROC Nation as co-conspirators. The real question is how much 50 sent, because if Fat Joe truly attempted to put a bag on Fit's head, and if the rest of this lawsuit holds up, then this is just the beginning of the Rico Wars, and some insiders are now claiming that the feds could come for 50. However, maybe the fan who claimed that 50 plays chess was right. And perhaps 50 isn't actually defending Joe, but is just looking out for his own best interest.